Hope you're all well. Welcome to Sniper Sundays. Hope you're having a good weekend. So, having a good look over the market this week, analysing our normal pairs. I think we've got quite a bit, we've got quite a bit of movement to come this week. I think, but I'm going to start off with the US dollar first. As I think the US dollar's been quite tricky lately. Been a bit choppy, not really doing much last week. We could see within the last 2, 3, 4 days. So I'm going to give my views on this. I think it's going to give us opportunities to take quite a few trades because I don't think it's going to go in sort of one direction continuously. I think it's going to be a few highs and lows here. So I'm going to go over this in quite detail on the US dollar and give you what we could be seeing. So as usual, just start off quickly with the fundamentals. Nothing really on Monday, bank holiday in Canada, Canadian bank holiday. Tuesday's fairly quiet. So the head of the Federation of the Fed, is speaking at 3 p.m. UK time. Wednesday, relatively quiet. We got the Bank of England speaking, so could see some movement obviously in those US dollar and pound pairs. Aussie dollar speaking, or Aussie dollar, the Reserve Bank of Australia governor will be speaking. So a lot of talks coming from each of these current countries, US dollar, pound, and Aussie dollar. Then we have some GBP news coming in, flash service PMI, same coming from the US, and then the Fed Powell speaks again at 7:30 on Thursday afternoon stroke evening. Then the busiest sort of day is we got the retail sales, which of course is important for the UK, 7 a.m. early, just at the start of the just before the London session there, and then we got Euro news at 8:15, 8:30. So quite a bit of movement on Euro and GBP pairs should be happening on Friday. So I'm going to start off with the US dollar, as I said, and just break this one down. It's quite important to understand the US dollar coming into the next few weeks and opportunities. So what I'm looking at here is, you can see here the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days been relatively a bit choppy. You can see here we've had move up, move down, move up, move down, and we've had the last few days were a bit quiet. Then on Thursday, Friday, just drop down to the 4 hour. We can just see here, if I just move this out of the way for the moment, highlighting that monthly key level. We just look at the 4 hour here. We can see this was sort of since last Wednesday, Thursday. I had to move up and we just sort of bounced around in this level, up, down, up, down. Each of these up, down moves makes it choppy on other US dollar pairs. Now, for a while, I've been calling the US dollar to come back up and take out these previous highs over here. At the moment, US dollar has some bullish momentum behind it, but as I said, I think it might be a bit tricky coming into this week. I don't think we're going to just simply push up, take out this level, and then push and then have the US dollar weakness that I've been expecting. I think we might see a little bit, a few different moves first, which I said is be good for us because it gives us quite a few trade opportunities. So at the moment, we're hitting our head here. I think we may, at the start of the week, see an increase on the US dollar strength. So we've just seen here, high, 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 low, high, 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 low, high, high. A bit of a higher low. We're expecting maybe to just pop up into sort of this region, maybe tap this sort of level, and then I'll be looking for a sell-off on the US dollar. However, I don't think this US dollar sell-off is going to be huge. I think we're going to see a bit of a sell-off here, and then we're going to see a move back up above this level to break above these highs, sort of stronger. And once we take out these highs, then we're going to see a bigger sell-off longer term. So I think, as I said there, I don't think we possibly could just come up here and then have a huge rejection back down. But I think there's going to be a bit more to it. So the market's a lot more patient. There'll be a lot more moves in between getting from point A to point B. There can be a few twists, as I always say. So yeah, I'm looking for this to potentially come up and hit this sort of triple top, and we might see a sell-off from there coming back down. But as I said, then I will be looking for US dollar strength to kick back in and take us even back above here. So depending on how big this retracement is going to be as well. So at the moment, shorter term, what we're expecting is the US dollar to continue this little push up at the start of the week, to continue this push up and continue with the US dollar strength, unless we just have one of those weeks where the market opens and we start pulling down straight away. But what I'm expecting here is when we're looking at the US dollar, is for Euro USD to come out of this sort of range it's been stuck in here on a daily and come down and tap into this level, which I've been talking about for a few weeks as well. This level just sitting below us here, this low here, coming down, tapping into this level, finding support before seeing that move back up to the upside. So as I said, if the US dollar does gain strength at the beginning of the week, it will push down. Then we see that weakness. I think we could see a push back up here on Euro USD, back above this previous high here. Possibly take this out, and then when that US dollar strength comes back in, we'll be looking for a push back down once again, and then we'll be looking for a huge swing trade up. Getting a bit confusing, so I'll just keep it to the short term for the moment, but that's sort of a longer term view. I'm always looking at what's going to happen in the medium and long trend, as I explained on Friday with GBP USD. So just to keep it simple at the moment, what I think we can expect is to break this sort of little consolidation zone that we've been in all of last week. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, last Friday, last Thursday, and last Wednesday. So a week and a half we've been in this little zone in Euro USD. So I think regardless what happens, we're going to see is push down into this region, sort of tap into this zone, and then we're going to see a move up to the upside. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for on Monday. Looking for, again, we remember last week we were looking for this push down here. I called that we were going to come up and take out this high. Happened very, very quick on the back of some news. Popped up, came straight back down. But we're still just within this zone. Now we tried bringing some long buyers on Friday and then push back down at the end of Friday. Just stuck within this zone, so it's just consolidating. So now what I'm expecting is to continue this push from here that I mentioned last week, to push down into this zone, and from this zone then we may see that push back up and the trade back up on Euro USD. Should be a nice trade back up to around 1.1, and as I said, above to take out this previous high here as well. Just go back out to the daily. Come back up here, take out this high. Yeah, so that's what sort of the ideas I'm looking for. We do have this zone just dropped in just below here, as I said. So look for some US dollar strength to push down early in the week. See if there's a possibility of riding this down. As I said, it's always better, even if we're looking for a trade up. Even if we're looking for this trade up, if it's possible to get a trade down, it's also almost act as a sort of protection. So we can get a trade down, make some profit off it, and then it protects us when we've taken a hedge trade long as well. So we're just basically stuck in this zone at the moment. I am expected to come down into these regions. And Euro GBP, I mentioned this on last Friday, that this is one of the pairs that I'm going to be looking out for a big swing. At the moment, I think we've got another sort of, what are we at? Another 70 pips to the upside. You can see here 0.9000, just marking out here this resistance. We know it's a weekly resistance level. And also see here the huge rejection we had here when we came down and spiked that, but back when we were in the midst of the madness of the coronavirus. So yeah, I'm expecting price to continue pushing up here. We've had a strong breakout on Friday, but yeah, I think we're going to maybe extend up a little bit higher, and we're going to be looking at short trades on Euro GBP from around this level here. I think the pound will gain some strength and start to push this back up. So watching out for this from around this region. If we can get, as I just mentioned, if we can get a long trade, that would be ideal. If we can get a little pullback at the start of the week, we'll be looking for a long trade up into this region. Ride this one up. We never know, we could go higher. And then once we get to see the right price action and see the right signs, we can then also look at taking that short trade down, take some profit on the long, and ride this back down should it come back down lower. So remember, hedge trading is great because you're never 100%, even though you have the analysis and things nearly always work out. You're never 100% on what can happen in the market. So hedge trading means that you can win being on both sides of the market. So we will be looking for a pullback, hopefully on this pair. If we can see it, if we can see a minor pullback here, then we could be looking at taking the trade up. As I do think there is more upside up to about these regions here, but as always, market open will tell the difference as well. Pound was quite weak, as I said on Friday, with some Brexit news that came out. Didn't help the pound, so we saw some weakness across the board. But yeah, I think there's still some more weakness on pound pairs before we look at stepping in and buying the pound once again. So here, just quite simple price action as well. See higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. This will be needing to pull back and make a higher low. So we can get that trade pulling back, even if we do push up here, we can get a trade back as it comes back down. As I said, we never know what the market may do. It might just continue to pull back down rather than push it up to the top. So we will be actively looking at potential while we're looking for this pullback. If this extends up higher at the start of the week, we may look like for that pullback as well before going higher. So this is what I mean, guys. There's lots of opportunities here, because at the start of the week I think we might have some minor pullbacks, so where we could look at getting into these entries for that push back up and then having the longer trade back down. So but overall, again, as I said, just the overall view on this, I do see some more upside early in the week before finding resistance around this area. We'll be looking for a short trade back down. Euro AED, similar situation. Euro AED had a good push up on Friday. We had been looking at this pair potentially coming down a little bit lower before looking at a long trade. We had broken this trend here, looking at this coming back down. We've broken through this trend line here. We were looking at price coming back down, potentially looking for a long trade up into the sort of regions where it's at now. Came back, just sort of missed the 50% here, and we've had a strong push up on Friday. However, I'm thinking that we can see a nice pullback down into sort of these levels once again before pushing back up. Let me just move these out of the way. So ideally, I'm looking at this pair coming up to around these regions before looking at a bigger swing trade back down. So once we get up into these regions here, coming all the way back down again and coming back below these lows. But as I said, I don't think it's going to be simple as we're going to go up to around the monthly resistance of 1.700 or above this high here. I don't think it's going to be a simple fact that we just hit this level and come all the way back down. Prior to that, I think we can see, as I just had marked out, just as I have marked out here, I think we could possibly see a pullback first. We just made a higher high. We could make a pullback first, come back down to make a higher low before making a new higher high. So if we do this, it gives us more opportunities to take trades. We could possibly look at trade down into this region here, where we now adjust this trend line. You can see here we've got a new trend line now. We've got 0.1, 0.2, and a possible 0.3. We're looking for, now that we made a higher high, to come back down, make a higher low, before coming back up into this region, taking out this high, and then actually making a really big swing trade back down. So at the start of the week, again, all depends on market open, but ideally if we get some opportunities, or if there's any opportunity around here to be looking at taking a trade down, we may look at taking that intraday down to sort of this region, where we could be looking at taking a long back up above to take out this high once again. So interesting level here. You can see we just found some resistance. We'll see how price reacts. Remember, always wait for the second touch. Price isn't just going to make a high and then move away straight away. And when we come back up, reject this level, then we could be looking at a trade short term back down to come and make a new higher low, possibly around these levels, to then go up and make a higher high. Euro NZD, similar situation. So last week we were sort of within this consolidation zone here. As you can see here, bit of a consolidation zone here. So we're looking at this pulling back. Mentioned we were ideally, with the Aussie dollar news, we're ideally looking for a pullback down lower. We didn't quite make this third touch of the trend line before looking for that trade back up. Just move this here. So you can see here we have 0.1, 0.2. Ideally, we're looking for 0.3. But on Friday, as I said, we had quite a strong push up. Euro had some strength. New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar were weak on the end of Friday. We've seen this push back up into sort of this region. This region I've had highlighted actually for a few weeks about coming up and taking out these highs before rolling over to the downside, and having a bigger sort of swing trade back down to the downside again. And here, now that we're at this level, even though we do trade a bit like Euro AED, with Euro NZD here, we are at a strong level of resistance. So it's very, very important to watch this pair around this level coming into the early part of the week. I do think that there is more upside still here. However, as we are at this strong area of resistance, I do think that along with Euro AED, that we can see a bit of downside movement first before pushing up higher. So Euro NZD, you can see here we're coming into this strong level of resistance. So we didn't quite make this third touch of the trend line. So I'm going to be watching price to come back down, look for a trade back down to find some support, can see here we've got resistance that we broke out from, so you could be looking at coming back down into sort of this region, find support before making a push to be able to actually break through this strong area of resistance. So prices had a strong push, but even with that strong push here on Friday, break above this sort of consolidation zone. As I said, we were just sort of bouncing around there on Wednesday, Thursday when the market was flat. Came down, tested the low, pushed back up to the upside, and we've come into the strong area of resistance now. Even if we take it back to prior resistance, so we've got. Let's take it over here. You can see we've got this strong. Just zoom right out. Strong area of support, resistance. We've just taken out this high here. So at the moment, I don't think, especially with the start of the week, that we're going to have enough to break through and break up higher. I do think coming soon will be a nice swing trade from these levels, a swing trade down. Obviously, we've had a very, very, very bearish push down here on Euro NZD. But what we're looking for is a push up. Once it breaks up into this area, this is an area where we're going to be looking for that short trade to come all the way back down below the previous lows. Again, that's like medium to long term, what I'm explaining there. But short term, I think where we're struggling to find enough power to break through this area of resistance, we can see a pullback from this area to retest support, find that third touch on the trend line, get a bit of strength to be able to then push up and break through this area, and to break through. So we may even come back down. We may even come back down a little bit lower, retest the sort of these regions here, retest the weekly support 1.0800. We may not complete. We may break the trend line, but not break the trend, and then we have that pushback up to the upside as we gather the strength to be able to push up and actually break through this level. So again, early in the week we could potentially look at short trades down. We have to just let the market open and just settle a little bit, but around this level, just like I've done with Euro AUD here, where we've made this high. We'll just take this away for a minute. Where we've made this high, we'll watch this come into the as the market opens, see how we react around this area of resistance. If we fail, then we can see a nice little intraday trade or short to medium term trade down, sort of these levels, where we'll be then looking for a trade back up. So looking for shorts potentially from around this area. Now I do think that obviously with the way that this finished on Friday, that we may just extend this push up, as I always say on a Monday, Tuesday, we could extend this push up slightly on the Monday open. And I'm expecting Aussie dollar to potentially, or Aussie and New Zealand dollar pairs to potentially push down slightly lower before looking for a retracement. So we'll be watching, if I just go back, we're watching price action in this area of resistance. So I think we could continue to push up, but in this area of resistance, if we continue to find resistance, then we can look at taking that trade back down. So, like most pairs, as I said, at the start of the week, we're really surprised we just see a little bit of a nudge up higher before we see that drop back down. GBP USD, so closed very, very, very bearish on Friday, as I explained on Friday's evening call. Coming back down towards the level, as I explained, that called for a long time ago, coming back down to 1.200. So I do still see some more pound weakness at the start of the week. At the moment, obviously very, very bearish. If we can see any pullbacks, we might get some nice intraday trades down as we try and push down to around this 1.200. We're about 100 pips away from that at the moment, which is quite similar to what I said with Euro GBP. That we're about 100 pips away from the 0.0900, that round significant level. So I'm expecting this to continue to push up higher. I'm expecting pound USD to continue to push down lower. This will also in play with the US dollar to maybe continue its strength up to the upside initially before selling off. So wrong tool. And if we do see the US dollar sell off, as well as the pound strength start stepping back into the market, even though we're very, very, very bearish at the moment. I understand the weekly is very bearish as well, but you can see here previously that things can change in an instant. So what I'm looking at is this pair to potentially come back down to this 1.200. I was always calling for this pullback because we had not, since we had this daily move up here, you can see here, using the Fibonacci, you can see here, since we had this move from bottom to top, we never had a Fibonacci retracement. We never had a proper retracement. Price just kept pushing. So this is all considered one move. We kept pushing, minor pullback, kept pushing. Still didn't come back to the Fibonacci, minor pullback, kept pushing, found resistance where we were looking at taking that short trade, and now we're pushing down. Now we've made a retracement. We've hit this 38.2% retracement. Now we're coming towards this 50% retracement. So now we're looking at potential this finding support around these areas, but we know that the daily is very, very, very bullish here, and the weekly. So if you look at the weekly, how bullish this is, but this is a retracement on the weekly. So if we can find some support here, then what's going to happen? We're going to go back above, take out the highs, and we're going to come out and hit this daily or this weekly Fibonacci. Now this might take some time. Remember, daily and weekly Fibonacci's can take some time to play out, especially we're getting entries. If you think on the 1 hour, sometimes you can have one or two rejections on the 61.8% retracement before looking at taking the trade. But on a daily, you might look at one or two rejections as well. So obviously, it's days, not 4 hours or 1 hour candles. So it takes a bit longer to actually get the entry. But we could be looking at this coming down to 1.200. As I said, then there's going to be what I can see has been a really, really nice trade. So then if the US dollar weakens, then we're going to see the pound weaken. Again, we might just come up, then the US dollar gets strong again, and then it gets weaker. So obviously that's the way that the market moves. So when I'm saying that I'm expecting US dollar weakness, as I said, I've been calling to come up above these highs and then come down. But the market over the coming weeks isn't just going to go, all right, US dollar strength and then weakness. It's going to go a bit of strength, bit of weakness, more strength, more weakness. So as it trends, so you can have a bit of strength at the start of the week or next week, then some weakness, then some strength, then a bit of weakness, for instance. Well, let's keep it simple, but and then have the weakness. So you can see it continues trending, finishes this trend, and then we have the sell-off. So remember, it won't always happen just go from A to B. In between, when you have your analysis of where you expect price to go, understand that there can be more highs and lows in between. So same with pound. I think we could come back up here, take out these highs. Once we hit, so we have the strength to hit the US dollar strength and the pound weakness to hit 1.200. Then we push up. We could come out and take these highs out. Then we could see a sell-off again. But then with that, then we might just push back up. You can see it's not going to come from here and then just continuously push all the way up to here, 1.30. It's not going to hit that Fibonacci in one move. What you're going to see is it's once you have the 61 or 50% retracement, you're going to come back. You might find resistance here. Then you pull back down again. People looking at it thinking it's a triple top. See a bit of a pullback down. Then you have the pullback up. And then you see that this is actually just trending. So that's how you have to understand the market. The market has to trend. The market takes time and has patience, and has more patience than most retail traders. So that's what I'm looking at there. But that would be a great trade from here. You can scale in on it as well. But it'd be a great trade that we can hold from here quite some time all the way back up. GJ, similar situation. We've had a pullback here now on this big daily move. We're just breaking the 130, which is quite interesting. We could dip a little bit lower down to these regions. I will take a look at how the market opens and how the Japanese yen plays out next week. But again, I think fairly soon we could see a nice long trade here, which is going to take us all the way back up above 13500. GBP AUD, similar situation. So we're expecting a little bit more of a push on the Aussie dollar at the start of the week, maybe just to come down a little bit lower than this level. This is a lot of last week's price action. Didn't really do much this pair. We had a little pop up, which was fake. You see here, this is why the range tool is so good, guys. You can see here the range that was made here, low, high, low. Okay, so we put on the range when it was here. Then you come up, see a high, But this is when you're in the range, you don't want to get caught out. Then here, fake out to the upside, back down. looked like a fake out to the downside and back up, but you can see we just kept hitting this resistance and rolling over. At the moment, we're just stuck within this sort of level now. But I'm expecting a little bit of a push back down to the downside with a bit of GBP weakness at the start of the week. Maybe come down into these regions, but I am looking out for GBP AUD to have a nice push up. So GBP pairs, I'll be looking at this GBP, Aussie dollar weakness possibly as well. But yeah, just keeping an eye on GBP AUD at the moment, because we're going to get to Aussie dollar in a minute. Aussie dollar, we may see some weakness at the start of the week, but there is a possibility that Aussie dollar could continue with some strength. So I'll just get to that. Just keeping an eye on GBP AUD at the moment, but obviously with the other GBP pairs, remember they'll always move together. If we can see some more downside on GBP JPY and GBP USD here, like that 100 pips or so, then we can still see some more downside on GBP AUD to come down to maybe 1.8750 before we start looking at taking longs. And what that would also look, what that would also be in line with is this strong area of support on the weekly, and it would look like higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. It's the last higher low. Not saying that we're going to go on and make new higher highs, but this will be a strong area, this sort of neckline, be a strong area of support for this price to then push back up. So I'm expecting a bit more downside on GBP AUD. Again, there's a possibility of taking an intraday trade down. We may look at that as well. So I get to Aussie dollar. Let me go to Aussie dollar now, actually, so I can explain. So Aussie dollar, kept this super clean, really clean, just to make it really, really clear. So Aussie dollar we've been looking at the Aussie dollar potentially trying to have a bit of a sell-off for a little while, but you can see here that it's still quite strong. On the daily, just like the other US dollar pairs, had a very, very, very strong push and didn't really make a retracement. So from here to here was all sort of one move, because we didn't have any retracement, as you can see here. But you can see here, we didn't come and have a 38% retracement. Here, we didn't come back down, have a retracement. We just kept pushing up. So now it looks like we may potentially be able to come back down and make a retracement. But at the moment, the Aussie dollar is still holding its own, and it hasn't really been selling off too much, even though we've been looking at it. It's been quite choppy on the daily. You can see here, doji candle, up and down, up and down, up and down, doji candle, then a bit of a bearish candle on Friday. So what I've got here, it's marking out the higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. I haven't made a higher high, but will we come back down and make it equal higher low? Or can we make a new low low where we've made a low low, lower high? So this area is going to be very, very important coming into the start of the week. So what I'm expecting is price to come back down and test this level, but this is where we'll be watching very, very closely. If the US dollar does push and gain some strength at the start of the week, it will push, as I said, pairs like Euro USD down. It would also push Aussie dollar down. But if we then find some resistance, and the US dollar gets weak and the Aussie dollar also continues with this bullish move, then we could easily see a nice move up from here, back up to the highs and take out this high here. We've followed the double top, but we haven't sold off very sharply. It hasn't been very convincing that we're ready to move down yet. So there could still be a nice little trade here back up to the highs. As I said before, even just looking at a long trade up before we look at potentially taking that trade back, that bigger swing trade back down, where we do finally make that daily retracement. But if we can get that trade in, then it'll sort of hedge us against us and protect us when taking a short trade. So this area is very, very important at the start of the week. If we can break this and we do move lower, then it will give us a different insight on where the market's going to go. But currently, right now, the market's not giving us any clear indication. We could easily still push back up to the upside while we're trading above this level. So if we can reject this level, reject this area of support here, and not break below, not have a strong close below on the 1 hour, 4 hour candle, then we could easily see a nice trade back up and could take out these highs before taking out the lows, coming back out and taking the lows. Aussie dollar CAD, similar situation. This has been stuck within a 100 pip region for about 2-3 weeks. Every time we have a little bit of a bearish move down, you can see that it's sort of nothing comes from it. You have a move up and a move down, move up, move down, move up, move back down, finishes in the middle, that doji, doji, doji. Move down, push back up, move down, push back up. Not the most strongest sort of moves here. Got in that little area of support. Drop down to the 4 hour. You can see here that it's not holding too well. We've spiked below it slightly. But what I'm expecting is to, as I said at the start of the week, potentially have some Aussie dollar weakness very, very early. Might see this push back down, but remember, this area is the last higher low, like I mentioned on Aussie dollar, US dollar. So you're going to be watching price come back down to this level, and you can still, again, higher highs here, higher lows. Higher highs could come back down, make it equal higher low, or could even have a higher low around here before pushing back back above this level. So where we're just consolidating this area and watching both, there's no complete bias on this just yet, which again gives us opportunities to have more trades. Because if we can get a nice trade up, then we can take a nice short trade back down. So we can get trades on both sides of the market. You could have a left shoulder here forming, head, we come down here, racked off this neckline, and then we can look at taking a trade. Where if we take a trade here, we'll be looking at taking off some profit at that right shoulder, and then maybe letting some run up to see if we can make a higher high. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, sort of similar situation. Japanese yen pairs, we saw some weakness, strength last week, pushing this down. But something I mentioned last week on GJ was very similar to GJ. I'll move off this trend line at the moment, but just so you can see on the daily, we've got this 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 on the trend line at the moment. So let's remove this, but as I mentioned on GJ on Thursday night, and we're looking for that trade back down. Even after the evening call on Friday, lots of more of you actually got in touch and said that you took a trade on Aussie dollar Japanese yen after the Thursday night evening call. Those of you in America and so on, or trading the Asian session, where you took that short trade down from here. But as I said on Thursday's evening call, when you have a move down like this, see we haven't got a very, very strong bullish candle here. It's bullish, but it's not very, very strong. You can see the wick at the top. So it means that price is more than likely going to come down and sort of retest this level. See here how we've had a bit of a push down and then a push up, but price has come down and taken out that level before pushing back up. And now this has taken out this candle here. So let's see, is there any more examples of that? Not really, just on the chart there. But so what I'm expecting was price to come back down on Thursday, looking at a price to come back down and sort of take out this level. But again, the Aussie dollar, it's not really showing too many signs of really being turning over bearish just yet. We do have this double top here, but as I said, we might see the Aussie dollar weakness at the start of the week take out this low, which is that daily low from Thursday, take out that low and then have a move back up to the upside. And we know that this is the third touch on the trend line, as I just showed you on the daily. I've had a double top, but should we find some support here and we make a double bottom and we fail to break this, again, we could see the Aussie dollar gain some strength and push back up to the upside before having the bigger move down. Again, Aussie dollar pairs will move in tandem with each other, usually they'll move together. So we could be looking for a move back up to the upside, one more push up to the upside. Sort of what we were looking for last week, but it's just I think since last week this was Aussie dollar, where was we last week? The 12th. So yeah, we had a push up, a push down, a push up, a push down. Sort of just didn't do too much here with the news. Pushback hasn't really done much throughout the whole week. Aussie dollar, US dollar, it's been within about 100 pips. So yeah, I think that we could still have another push back up to the upside coming into this week. Now we look at some commodities. Look at gold. So what did I cover there? Aussie dollar, Japanese yen. Yes, I'll be watching out for this level, guys. Maybe, as I said, potential bit of weakness on Aussie dollar to start off the week, to potentially try and break this level before pushing back up, and that also leads to Euro AUD trying to come up and tap these levels before having a push back down. If we see Aussie dollar obviously push back up, we're going to see Euro AUD push back down, and Euro NTD. So yeah, looking at gold, we came up and made new highs here. We've hit that 1750 level. So we had this breakout on gold on the daily, on a 4 hour, very strong break. With gold, sometimes when it has breaks or makes moves, sometimes it makes moves very fast that it makes the risk reward on trades a little bit unfavorable to the trader. So for instance here, you can see a strong break here. This is what you want to see as a strong break of a triangle. Strong break here, there's always the opportunity of a pullback before it goes up higher. So to take a trade here, your stop loss would have to be at least below the last candle, maybe even more. But there's a good chance of bringing in a good bit of drawdown before a move up. So it's too risky. If you see a trade here and it pulls back down, then it gives you a better opportunity to take a better trade. Often during the day as well with gold, what happens is you see a big spike up to the upside. If we drop down to the 1 hour, you might see sort of better. For instance, here you have a big push down on the 1 hour, it pushes back up. In order to try and get a good trade, you'd have to at least have a stop loss below that candle, and it makes your risk reward not as great. So here you can just see with gold at the moment, we've pushed up towards that 1750 level. As I said, always have your sort of level-headed thinking cap on. Just because we see it's very bullish doesn't mean that it's going to go to the moon right now. You can see here with previous price action, what we'll be looking out for this week is, you can see when we've taken out these highs. So here we've had a daily in the bearish engulfing, daily bearish engulfing. Then we'll drop down to the 4 hour, so you can just see this. So we took out these, so we've had a double top here. Just looking at price action here and price action here, when we pushed up, this looked like it had broken above this high. It looked like it could go on up to 1800s and 2000s, which you see a lot of people spouting about. But then you can see here quickly it turns. So we've had a double top here, top, and then you can see bearish engulfing, and we've had a trade back down. We pushed up higher, expect to potentially push up above 1750 now. We've got hitting our head on the ceiling here. I wouldn't short this just yet, but I'll be watching this week for some resistance. To push up, we've made a higher high here. Expect to push up, continue this push up from last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, potentially up into these levels. We'll be watching for sort of double tops from around these sort of levels here. And then if we have the price action, we could see potential nice trades down on gold. But at the moment, it's hard to call it. We can't say exactly where it's going to come from. Gold can move very fast. We may come up and hit that round significant level of 1800. So if we see a pullback down, could even be a trade up. But right now, it's hard to call it, guys. We're just making a double top here with the last high over here right now. So there hasn't been enough in price action for us to be able to call what the next move is. We've just seen a breakout of the triangle. We're just making a double top. So we need to see a bit more price action from around here before we can actually call the next move on this. So the US dollar may give us some indication of what might happen on gold as well next week. So we're keeping a close eye on the US dollar, but gold, you can't really call the direction on it right now. As I said before, on Sniper Sunday, sometimes we can analyze pairs, but you can't always call a direction on a pair, because depending on what's happened with that pair, you have to let it play out a little bit more before you're able to analyze it. Currently, we're making a double top, but we need some. If we're going to basically find resistance here, we'd want to see some more price action, maybe a bearish engulfing, a bit like what we've seen here. But right now, we've just had a move on Friday. We've just made a new high, so there's no way of telling the exact move next, especially where the market closed on a Friday and we're now waiting for the market to open. US oil, as I said, is one that I'm going to watch out for. Very bullish end to the week. Bullish week here. Bullish daily here. Coming up into that $30 region level. Coming up into this area where we've had previous price action all around sort of this area here. So I think that we're going to need to see oil have a bit of a pullback before making any move up higher, if any. What can look very bullish right now, remember guys, can change very quickly. I've showed you that many times. This here could continue on Monday, Tuesday to be bullish, and then all of a sudden we can have a big bearish stepping back into the market and bring it back down. And then everyone will have the realization, oh yeah, of course, oil was weak. there's no reason to really be buying oil at the moment, and then we have a big change in the market. Remember, always have that your thinking cap on. Think of the bigger picture. Remember, oil didn't drop down to these negative prices for no reason. Obviously, there's production cuts and so on, but with what's going on and the low demand for oil, we're seeing a bullish push now, but we can easily see a pullback on this anytime soon. So we've had a bit of a retracement here. Sorry, wrong tool. Seen a bit of a retracement here. So making up a higher high, higher low, higher high, but we need to come back down. But I think, just like I showed you on some of these other pairs, if we could take a fib from the bottom, for instance, you can see we haven't had a retracement here. So price is pushing up, very, very bullish, but once it pushes up into these regions, it's going to need to come back down and make a retracement. So, and that retracement could be a retracement, could be a small retracement, or could be a very, very big retracement as we come back down to these levels before looking at coming back up again. So yeah, very, very interesting to watch it. No trade right now. Again, as I said, the way that it's closed on Friday, but we just need to watch it and let it develop a little bit more, and then we can look at taking a trade. But I think there's going to be a very, very big trade coming on oil fairly, fairly soon. So that's about it, guys. US dollar is one of the main things to watch out for at the start of the week to see how it reacts. But yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few opportunities. So yeah, let's look forward to a good week and a busy week this week. I will be active straight away from Monday morning, as always, looking to see any trade opportunities there are, any intraday trades. So yeah, we have lots of setups sort of pending that didn't come through last week. There's quite a few trades lining up here, both intraday and swing trades that we're going to be looking out for the start of the week. And the last 2-3 weeks, the market's been moving straight away from a market open on Sunday, sort of in the Asian session. So as the market opens, I'll be watching into the Asian sessions around 1 o'clock as well to see if there's any moves going to start off at the start of the week, because we have been seeing that an awful lot the last few weeks, where the trend of the week starts literally from the market open. So I'll be watching out. That's what we're looking out for on all these trades. It gives us a good idea of what to expect. Hold on, USD pairs as well here, guys. I don't think I covered. I skipped over to Aussie dollar. Let me just quickly go to USD JPY. So USD JPY, a bit of a funny end to the week. It called this sort of move down on Thursday evening, but again, it just moved in the Asian session, 2 o'clock in the morning. So we had a push down, and then we had this with the back of the news. We had this bullish push up on USD JPY, back up again, and then we ended the day with a bearish candle. Remember, the last candle of the day, I wouldn't always on a Friday, I don't take into consideration too much, but I do see USD JPY potentially coming back down into these sort of levels at the moment. We have to see how the US dollar opens up at the start of the week. Obviously, we're expecting some strength, but it all depends on the Japanese yen as well. Japanese yen has been pushing down GJ and Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, so we can expect maybe a little bit of a pushback down. But what I'm expecting on USD JPY is to push back down in sort of these regions, take out this low here. I do think that the bears are in control right now, so we saw a little bit of a pullback up to these regions again. I could be potentially looking for that trade back down, because I think we could have a nice little trade from around these levels back down into here. So ideally, which would be perfect, is if we saw USD JPY come back up and try and take out the US high from Thursday. We came down, we came back up, we didn't quite tap it. We could try, if we took out this high and rejected this level, we could look at a nice trade back down to coming down into taking out these lows here. And I think we'll come back down, take out these lows, and then we may look at a trade back up. And USD CAD, now with USD CAD and Aussie dollar, US dollar, as I said, we don't really know which way Aussie dollar is going to go just yet. This area is going to be very, very important. But with USD CAD, I've been calling this area highlighted here as a strong daily sell level. So if a few weeks ago we're looking at price popping up into this level and hitting this, and this is where we're going to be looking for a big swing trade. Since then we've been sort of like down, up, down. You see here, bearish engulfing, bullish engulfing, sort of Not really sure which way this is going to go next just yet. Now, given what I'm saying about the US dollar being a bit tricky over the next week, I still think that there's a possibility we may see some resistance around this level and coming back down into this level here before moving back up into that region. It's quite a bit of movement there. Potentially 200-300 pips down before moving back up. But it's all dependent on Aussie dollar. If Aussie dollar, US dollar here as well, not dependent on this, guys, but remember there is quite a strong inverse correlation, and the US dollar situation is very important, obviously, for these pairs. But if we do find support here and the US dollar weakens, then we can expect to find some resistance here. And if the US dollar weakens as well, to come back down, take out these lows before they're moving up higher. See here, this double bottom, lot liquidation sitting in below these levels here. Come up, take out these highs first, grab at the start of the week up into this sort of region here. We could push on, guys, remember, we could push on and then see the big sell, but I don't see it being that simple and going straight according to that plan. I think we can come up here, start of the week, have a bit of a grab here with that US dollar strength into this region. Then we see a nice sell-off, a nice short trade for us back down into this region, where we then look for a long back up into here before a big sell-off. Again, that short, medium, long term might be a bit much to take in, but you have to think about long, medium and long term, not just what's in front of you. If you really want to be a good swing trader, you have to understand and see where the market's going in the next few days and next few weeks. Like as I said with other pairs, not just GBP USD, which I mentioned on Friday, but calling this from 1.2500 or above back down to 1.200, and now with what I'm saying projecting above, you can see that the analysis is always playing out, so you can get into these trades and hold them for a long time. So yeah, could be a good few twists and turns, which is what we actually want, guys. It gives us more opportunities rather than this going up into this level and then we've seen a sell-off on USD CAD. If we can see this push back down first into this region, we can look at taking a short trade, and then from here we can look at then taking a long trade. So it gives us more opportunities. It's what we want. So hopefully we see that. We haven't got a massively fundamental week coming up, but that may just let the technicals play out as they want to play. So looking at this trend line, 1.2.3, looking at finding some resistance. Ideally, what I want to see is to find some resistance here and see a push down. I'd like to see Aussie dollar. I'd like to see us be able to take a long here on Aussie dollar. And that's my preference, is what I'd like to see. But again, things can change on market open, but we understand that if things do change, what the setups will be. If we do break below here, then we can look at taking a long trade back up, but it will be only for a retracement before we look at taking a short trade back down. We'll understand that, okay, we are now making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. At the moment, we haven't made a lower low, so we're still bullish on Aussie dollar. And yeah, it's very, very important to understand what the US dollar is doing. This is very, very important. So we do find this strong resistance here once again on US dollar. We can expect a bit of a sharp sell-off to come back down, some US dollar weakness. So therefore, we can look at selling the US dollar across many of the major currency pairs like Euro USD, like Aussie dollar, US dollar, USD JPY, and so on. So hope that helps you understand what we're looking for this week, guys. We'll see what the market open does. It said let's be on our toes from market open and the start of the Asian session. See if there's any opportunities that early. I don't normally, we don't normally, as a rule of thumb, look for taking trades on a Monday, but we have to understand what's been happening in the last few weeks, adapt to it, see if there's going to be anything this week, and see if there's anything plays out. So be watching the market as soon as it opens. Be watching it during the early part of the Asian session, see if anything plays out or if there's any opportunities as per our analysis, and we may even look at taking trades quite early, very, very early in the week. So speak to you soon, guys. Have a great evening. Yeah, and as I said, I'll speak to you on market open. Thank you.